Hi, gang. Welcome to another episode of Get Help Hangouts. We are basically going to be talking to you today about some of the different questions you've had about our Hangouts and about what it's like to be a trainer. And today we've got a really special guest today. We're going to be talking about the boot camps. And so Eric Curts will be joining us for that, as well as Nick, who's going to also be talking about the way he handles their Hangouts. Before we get started, I just want to have the guys go across and introduce themselves. We'll start off with David.
Hey guys, I'm David. I'm the program manager for the Certified Trainer program.
Eric.
Howdy, everybody. My name's Eric Curts. I'm a technology integration guy up in Northeast Ohio, also a Google innovator and trainer as well.
And hi, everyone. I am Nick Cusimano. I am a director of instructional technology of a suburban St. Louis school and St. Louis school district in St. Louis, Missouri.
Excellent. As we go along, if you guys have a question, there is the URL what we'll be using for today. So goo.gl/slides/D8WGWB. So open that up in a new tab or a new window, and we will take a look at that. And did I introduce myself when we started? I can't remember. I was caught off guard there. I think I said Trevor Beck. Anyways, I am Trevor Beck still. I am Google evangelist at a university here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And so I will bring in the winter north perception for some of the stuff we're going to be talking about today. We're going to start off with a recap of some things that have happened in the past little while here. And one of the things we want to talk about is just for the new trainers that are coming online. Just want to talk quickly about using our Google group. So the Google group is only available to Google trainers. Remember, please, as you go in, before you start posting questions and stuff, make sure that you do a search first, because a lot of the information you're looking for has already been done, questions have already been asked. And rather than having that duplication, it makes it a lot easier if we only have one source. So trainers just go through, search. You can also go through by category and look through your information there. So pick that. If you can't find the answer, then by all means, please post a question. Okay, let's take a look again on our screen here. So the next thing we're going to look at, we're going to talk about what's new. We're going to look at some product updates. We're going to introduce our Q4 trainers. We're going to look at the 2017 rolling application, and we'll also talk briefly about the Certified Innovator. I'm going to turn things over to David. He's going to start us off with the product updates.
Yeah, so guys, we made some announcements lately, products that have been introduced here at Google. I just came back from BET, our big UK exhibition, where thousands of education technology companies come together, and we announced a couple things. First, we announced these two new Chromebooks that will be coming out. One of them, the Acer Chromebook Spin 5, which is essentially a tablet that folds back. And I recommend you checking that out. It's a really neat device and also at a really nice price point. We've also announced that Android apps are also going to be available on Chromebooks, and we announced that way last May. But now administrators are able to create a library of approved Android apps and install them on selected Chromebooks. So if you guys are ever managing a fleet of Chromebooks, now you can install the apps on Android apps on those Chromebooks. And now students will get even more access to the entire Google Play ecosystem. A lot of the great educational apps now are also now available on Chromebooks. Additionally, we made creative apps on Chromebooks, namely WeVideo, Soundtrap, and Explain Everything, available on Chromebooks now in the UK and Nordics, and previously it had only been available in the US. So that's just a little bit on the product side. From the in-program Certified Trainer program side, a lot of new exciting things for the new year. Many of you guys have probably noticed that we've introduced a lot of new faces and a lot of new names to the Certified Trainer program, 525 to be exact. And we're really happy to have such a strong response to this program, and really open up like our community to people from not only the United States, but from all the rest of the world. This round of applications, actually, round of admissions, was our most international as well. I think about 40% of you guys came from overseas. So it's really exciting to see us expand our global reach as well. So I love to see all these new introductions, and we encourage you guys to continue just welcoming each other and supporting each other. Nextly, one of the things that we've changed too with the application moving forward is we've made it a rolling application. You guys remember that it used to be on a cycle basis. Now you can apply, and within a very reasonable amount of time, I believe it's 4 to 6 weeks, you should get a response onto the decision. And so this is really going to help speed up like people who want to do the training immediately. And so they don't have to wait around for 3 months, up to 3 months at a time to get their response. And so for any of you trainers out there who have that, fellow coach or fellow teacher who's interested, you can let them know that, we really expedited the decision-making processing. So please encourage them to apply. And then lastly, the Certified Trainer Program, Certified Innovator Program, we opened up our UK applications for a March cohort. So applications are currently online right now for people to apply to join that UK cohort of certified trainers. So if you're interested, certified innovators. So if you're interested in joining attending this 2-day in-person session at the Google London office, the short link is in the deck as well. And just quickly, like I said, I was just at BET, and so I thought I'd just quickly jump in here and talk about 3 trainers that really stood out while I was there at BET. Ali, Dean, and Allison, they all did a fantastic job demoing our products at our stand. Ali and Dean, they were demoing Classroom, what it seemed like for 8-9 hours a day for 3 days. So, these guys really have some serious endurance on, doing classroom training. And Allison was doing some great off-stand work, doing some actual classroom demo training for some select folks who are interested in receiving professional development. So great job to all 3 of you guys, and thanks again.
Excellent. I also like to mention, for anyone that's using the new Chromebooks and stuff, having those Android apps, able to take advantage of those Android apps is very cool, especially because I find that sometimes on the memory that Chrome uses, some of those apps take up a lot of memory, but when you use the Android apps, then the memory use goes down drastically. So if you haven't had a chance, by all means, please make sure you do get a chance to go and play with that kind of stuff. Have you guys played with any of the Android apps at all?
I have not had the occasion to yet. That's one of the things on my real short to-do list is looking at these new Chromebooks that support those, and trying to decide which one I want to purchase and start playing around with that. I totally agree with you. This is going to really open up a lot of amazing opportunities. When you think about tablets, a lot of times the success that we've seen with them has been more at elementary levels with younger children. And I think, having that ability to have a touchscreen and Android apps on a Chromebook is going to make that device even make more sense K-12 now. Not that it didn't before, but I can really see it, dipping down into the lower grades where a lot of those apps are going to make a lot of sense. But still, those apps are great no matter what grade level or what age. Nick, have you had a chance to play around with those?
Well, I have borrowed Stephanie Filardo, who is a newly minted trainer and innovator also from MTV 16 or Colorado 16. So sorry. And this is a Asus Chromebook Flip, and I'm doing a workshop on Android and Chrome in about 2 weeks. So I needed to get a device that would help me with that. And so I will definitely be exploring and share out what I've learned from that. I'm really looking forward to, because I know as we go on, that cross-platform is going to be really nice, especially for the elementary levels, and gives us access to some platforms like Adobe that we can use now on Chromebooks in a stronger way.
I picked up my my laptop back in early part of December, and what was really cool is that when I was traveling at the time when I bought it down in the States, and then as we were coming back, that's when Netflix announced that you could do downloads. So then I whipped open Chrome, and you tried to use the Netflix app within Chrome, you can't download. But then I went, oh, okay, Android, yeah, go ahead, and oh yeah, I can download all these Netflix stuff, and was able to watch stuff on the plane. So that, I mean, I realize that's not your typical educational use case, but that is cool.
Yeah, I think it's going to afford a lot of opportunities, especially you just get that, makes it that much more interactive and hopefully that much quicker too.
Yeah, and as a Mac guy, and I hate to say this, but the more I play with this stuff, it's like, ooh, I think my next phone might not be the iPhone. So we'll see what happens in the fall.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to all the new devices because I know they're just starting to release them, and hopefully soon. Too bad David left us. We can get an idea of when it's coming to the other devices that are listed on the Android to Chrome help file.
Yeah, that'll be cool. One thing I wanted to move on with is I want to talk about the logos that have been showing up on our trainer website. So again, if you have any questions, goo.gl/slides/98WGWB. But so we've got a couple different logos that are running around there. We've got the first logo, which is our pin or our badge that we use. You can use that on your business card. You can use that on your website, all that kind of stuff. We also have this Google for Education Certified Trainer. And one thing to keep in mind with a logo is a logo includes the text as well. So if you decide that you want to try and rearrange the logos and the words, or you want to try and take the words and blow them up bigger and make the something else smaller, that's messing with the logo. So when you see the logo as the T there, the circle, and Google for Education Certified Trainer, that's all one piece and should be treated as one piece. There's also an option to use just the T by itself, but if you're going to throw any kind of text that has the words Google for Education Certified Trainer on it, you should use the standardized official Google logo kind of stuff there. And I bring that up because I know a lot of people get really excited about, wow, what can I do with this logo now? I'm going to change the world. And that's, you know, Google has problems, or not Google, but I mean, anyone that does any branding and stuff, those are the first things they tell you is you don't mess with the logo. All right, let's talk about our guest speaker. Our guest speaker has been doing Google Certified Educator Bootcamps for about 4 or 5 years now. He has a wonderful piece of resource out there called the Skills Checklist for Google Certified Educators Level 1 and 2. So if you're thinking of putting on your own boot camp or something, want to know what you should be covering, that is the checklist you should be looking at. Nick, you tracked Eric down, so I'm going to turn this over to you and let you go ahead and carry on from here, okay?
Sure. So I know I've done some boot camps within my district. I just did one in January, and Eric is always a great resource for all things Google. And I've always admired Eric and been able to talk with them online in various parts. And so, Eric, can you walk us through kind of how you prep people for the level 1, level 2 tests?
Absolutely. I'm actually going to start by sharing my screen so we can, see some of this good stuff here. So let me pull that up, and hopefully that all looks okay. Looks good. All right, fantastic. So the resources that I'm going to point you guys to, you can find a number of ways. I know you've got links in the show notes, so that's wonderful. If for any reason somebody catches us later and can't find the link or the show notes or whatever, if you go to my website, controlaltachieve.com, that's where I put all of my Google resources. So everything is there, including the stuff we're going to be talking about here today. So controlaltachieve.com. The first page is the blog, so you can always check out the blog stuff there. But the second page over, that's where the resources are at, or the second tab over. So if you go to resources, there is a certification link in there. So that's where you can always get to anything that I'll be adding for certifications. I've also got all my resources for, whatever the topic might be, Google Forms and Sheets and YouTube and things like that. I also do a bunch of webinars, and there's a tab at the top that will take you to those webinars. But for what we're looking at here today, that'll be the easiest way for you to get to the certification stuff. Control-Alt-Achieve.com, go to resources, and go to Google Certifications. And what I've got there is I've got a blog post that I talk about the certification checklists. I've got a slideshow that goes with it, and then I've got the checklists themselves. If you go to the blog post, I'll zoom in a little bit here so this is a little bit bigger for folks to see. The blog post kind of talks you through these checklists, how I set them up, and then there's links to them. And then if you follow those checklists, that will shoot you out to those checklists there. I'll make those a little bit bigger again so we can see those a little bit easier. There's level 1 and level 2. All right, so that's all of the kind of housekeeping stuff so people can get to all of these resources as we take a look at them. So let me kind of talk you through how all this came about and so forth. So I work at a what we call an information technology center in Ohio. So it's sort of like a regional service center. I'm sure a lot of different states have things like that, where I used to be at the district level. This is actually my 25th year in education. I was a math teacher, then a tech integration person for many years at a district level before moving to the regional level. And so now I serve 30 or 40 some districts up here in Northeast Ohio, and then other districts kind of connect with us in different ways. But if you picture Northeast Ohio, Akron, Canton, that sort of area, that's where I'm at. And one of the things we do is try to provide a lot of Google support, because of the districts that we have, every single one of our districts are Google districts. We do not have a single district that is not I got to say G Suite now, but Google Apps district, but G Suite district, they all are. And so one of the things that people are certainly interested in is getting certification training. So basically, when I started doing this years ago, we didn't have level 1 and 2. It was just Google Certified Trainer. So I did run boot camps that were specifically for that. But then now for the last couple of years, since we've had Educator 1 and 2 out, for the last 2 summers, I've been able to do boot camps that focus on level 1 and 2. And so everybody has their own way of doing this, and I love to learn from others. And there's no wrong way, I'm sure, to do a certification camp. It depends on what fits people best. But the way that we've approached it is we actually run pretty long camps. They're 4 days long, and it includes level 1 and 2 together. I actually do them as one large camp together. The idea for that was sort of, well, there's a bit of crossover. There's some things in level 1 that are very similar to some things in level 2, or if you're going to do this in level 2, I can't quite explain that unless I'm sure you understand this in level 1. And so, I kind of get, worried, well, if we try to cover this and you aren't really ready for it, but you thought you were, would that be a problem? So what I decided to do was to do both of these together. And so when somebody goes through one of the 4-day boot camps, they're going to actually cover every single thing in Educator Level 1 and Level 2. And so what I did was I started by going to Google's Edu Training Center, and basically went through all of the tutorials very closely, step by step, and tried to pull out everything it said in there whenever there was a skill being mentioned. So like for Google Drive, create a file, access a file, organize a file, upload a file, convert a file, whatever it was. And I tried to collect all these together, and I actually have a big spreadsheet where I put every skill I could find, and then what section it was in and what tool it dealt with and so forth. And then after I had all of that stuff together into a spreadsheet, then I started sorting and filtering and figuring out how to organize it so that I pulled all the stuff together, so it was nice and clean. And that's where these checklists came from. So the skills checklist for Educator Level 1 shows you everything that you would need to know if you were to go through those online tutorials. These are all the different skills that by the time it's done, you should be able to do these. Same thing for Educator Level 2. It's got the same layout to it for that as well. And then basically, I took all of them, put them all together, and tried to figure out how can I cover all of this stuff. Because again, everybody does it differently. Some people may see a certification boot camp as a good way to help people understand what's going to be on the test, give them some test taking skills, cover some of the more difficult things. The way that I've been running them is we actually cover every single thing in the tutorials. I mean, we do every checklist, every check box on here, we actually go through and do these tasks. And so depending on the day, it just kind of depends, but like, you know, the first day, let me see, first day is typically, you know, drive, docs, sheets, slides, and certification overview. And then the next day is drawings, forms, classroom, Gmail, contacts, groups. Then the next day we do task calendar, Google+, Hangouts, communities, Chrome, and search. And the last day, YouTube, Maps, Earth, Sites, and Blogger. And so basically through those 4 days, actually, you know, working through all of these different skills so that when somebody leaves, they should be, well, they're going to be overwhelmed. I'll guarantee you that, because that's a lot of stuff in 4 days. But I also give them there's a Google Doc we work through. At the moment, it's 36 pages. I have resources for every single thing we cover. They're given an account. Now, I know a lot of people have their own accounts, but here's the thing. I've got people coming from all kinds of districts. You know, it's not like I'm in one district and so everybody there is from the same district. You know, I'll have, you know, in the summer, I usually run 3 or 4 of the boot camps, and we'll have, you know, 30 or so people in each boot camp, and they're coming from all over the place. Well, the problem is if they use their own accounts, what happens if their district has turned off Hangouts? What happens if their district has disabled something? Well, then we can't do it. I can't actually show them that. So I actually create a Google account within my domain for all of the attendees, and that's where we do everything. They work on all of these tasks, and we, you know, go through all of this together. And when they're done, they have that account that they can always turn to if they want to, you know, pull this stuff back up. And they've got my doc with all of my resources in there that goes along with it. So that's pretty much what we've been doing. So again, it's 4 days, 8 hours a day. Try to throw in, you know, a lunch break, and then 2 breaks a break in the morning and a break in the afternoon. Try to have some fun. Do a lot of it's all real practical stuff. We try absolutely in everything I'm teaching here to be explaining why would you be using this. So we're not just talking about what buttons to click, because, you know, the tests aren't that way anymore. It's not like the old days where it was these really, really difficult trainer tests where you had to know about IMAP settings and, you know, I mean, all that kind of crazy stuff. This is really practical stuff now. And so, yes, we show them how to use all of the tools, but we show them how to use them with students. It's all about really practical examples. So every, you know, learning module that, you know, I kind of take them through, we're doing something that they could turn right around and use with their students while they're learning these things.
Eric,
so
can I interrupt for a second?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I just want to point out again, because there were some questions, and I just want to make sure everyone has the link for you. So goo.gl/slide/D8WGWB. So again, please, if you have questions, go ahead in there. Can I ask a couple questions now, or would you rather I waited?
Oh, you, Joe, go right ahead.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So I have here, my mouse keeps jumping around. So we have Sarah is asking, do you know if the educator exams reflect the new sites or the old sites?
I can answer that.
Yeah,
it's
new sites now, isn't it?
It's new sites.
Yeah.
And it's so much simpler. So it covers the new sites, because in this round, I'm like, oh, it's going to be old sites, but it was actually new sites. So they have updated that part of the test.
Yes, they have, which is good. I mean, the new sites, you know, we could spend a whole session talking about old versus new, and I love old as well. But for the sake of what we're doing with this, yeah, new sites is so much more user friendly. Sure, it's missing about, you know, 20 features that eventually will come over to it, I'm sure.
Search, excuse me.
Come on, well, yeah, we know that. I mean, there's a million things it doesn't have yet, but what it does really good. It's a good foundation to build on. Yeah.
Yes. I have a question from Federico. Sorry. How many hours per day do your boot camps take?
Yeah. So when I do them, I do run them 8 hours a day. Well, it's probably, well, it is 8 hours, but there's breaks in there. So yeah, it is basically what's going to probably be about 7.5 hours of actual, you know, content, then with, you know, some other breaks thrown in there as well. So altogether, you know, 4 days. So, you know, that's a good 30 hours of, you know, content that we go through over those 4 days. Now, I have had one school that had me do the boot camp for them as well for 2 years, and they actually asked for 5 days. And so they just wanted to go a little slower. They wanted to go a little deeper. So I have done the same thing as 5 8-hour days, but when I run them here in offices here, we run them as 4-day boot camps at 8 hours a day.
Quick question, just from the admin side. You give people access to your accounts on your training domain, whatever you're using, and how long do you keep those?
Forever. Yeah, we've never had a problem yet. I mean, you know, whether that ever becomes a problem, I don't know. But as of right now, I've never disabled those accounts if people have gone through that. And again, it's not on my trainer domain. I do have that one as well, but it's on the organization domain here, because they're coming through us for the training, so they get an account set up on there. And so far, you know, we've left those accounts open. Now I'm sure it probably would not be a problem for me to disable those, you know, after, you know, 6 months or a year, because if somebody's not, you know, gone in and taken the test by then, you know, perhaps they're not interested in doing so, you know. And but at the moment, nope, they're still there, so those people can log in and pull up that stuff if they need to, or gives them something to need to.
Okay.
Yeah, what I would say, the nice part I think about the preparing for level 1, level 2, and taking the test, which I picked up from our teachers who took the test, is it really helps you get your feet wet and get in there and explore. Because, like, I think sure Eric's talking some prepping them for the boot camp. If they spend the 4 days with him and they're novices to the Google ecosystem, they're going to be a lot stronger after those 4 weeks doing all those 4 days doing those
it just
practical
feels like
examples.
Well, Nick, you're absolutely right, and maybe that's something we should mention is not everybody does boot camps because they want to be certified. We actually don't have 100% turnaround where you take the boot camp and you go take the test. I'll have people show up and say, I don't care about the tests at all. We went Google and my school said we really need to get some people that know this inside and out, and we figured this would be the best way to do it. And that's great, because you're right. If you go through everything in level 1 and 2 over those 4 days, you will have a really, really solid understanding of all of the nooks and crannies of the G Suite, you know, ecosystem. And, you know, a lot of good resources to keep learning more and so forth. So yeah, if some folks do not, I tell them, go ahead, take the test. You might as well. I mean, yeah, it does cost money. I understand that. But you know, a lot of folks, they're actually content just to get the training. They just see it as a boot camp to go back and be sort of that Google point person for their district.
And if you're interested, and I know we have some people, especially since they just announced the next Innovator Academy, this is like step 1 of preparing to apply. And so if you can get, for Innovator, it's level 2. For trainer, you have to have level 1, level 2, and the trainer exams. And I will tell you, having taken all 3 of the different tests, level 1 and level 2 are really your foundation, and the trainer exam really focuses on how to plan professional development. But you've laid your foundation with the level 1 and level 2 tests, so that you know what you're doing, how to help people out. So when you get to that trainer exam, it helps you with that part.
And I'd like to point out that with the level 1 and 2 educator, it's not just about the tools. It's about how you can make use of those tools in the classroom, depending on what you're trying to achieve as the goal for those classrooms. And they've got, you know, white papers to read. They've got use cases and stuff like that. And if nothing else, there's some great ideas in there to take whatever you're doing, you know, as an instructor, and add something fresh and new to it, which is exciting for you as well as your students.
Yeah, there's a whole variety of things. Go ahead, Eric.
I did see, keeping an eye on the questions as well. Did you want to pop back over to some of those?
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt. Okay, just give me a second.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. I was looking at them too, just seeing if there was,
okay.
and I do see a few that we haven't addressed.
Alrighty then, let's start off with, again, how do you assess readiness or differentiate teachers for the boot camps?
Well, I mean, with me, I'm not for this particular thing, because when I run the boot camp, it is level 1 and 2 together. So, if you look at level 1, it's going to cover Google Sheets up to a certain point, and then level 2 will take Google Sheets and throw in the add-ons and go further. Well, I do that all together. We're going to do Google Sheets, and we're going to do it in, one afternoon where we do the level 1 and the level 2 stuff. So basically, I am not doing that. I'm actually not doing anything to split them up. And the big reason why, well, I mean, like I said, on one hand, I don't want somebody showing up for level 2 and not really knowing what they're doing. And then we're like, well, guys, we can't get through this material fast enough if we have to keep going back and going over stuff. So I want to avoid that. But I worry about schedules. I mean, people's lives are crazy and busy. And if it's going to be 4 days and I go, okay, level 1 is the first week of July and level 2 is, the third week of July. Well, guess what? That's going to be the exact time that doesn't work for the people. But if I say first week and third week are level 1, 2 together, then guess what? Everybody can come and attend, And so by doing them together, I feel it gives us a much more, and here's the other thing. I would have a hard time with level 1 stopping because you start getting into something neat. You're like, but I can't talk about that because that's level 2. So, I can't tell you this really neat feature, So, so at the moment, I'm not doing anything to do that. Nick, what do you do for that?
So in my district, we're approaching a slightly different manner because we have 18,000 students and 2,000 teachers. So for me, it becomes part of it comes down to economics, because if all our teachers were level 1 certified, that would be $70,000, and we're not going to spend that much money to get our teachers certified. But we do want a Google, as I'm calling them now, Google experts in each building. And so usually because of economics, I have about 1 day to prep them for the test. So these people are already familiar with Google Suite, so I'm trying to hit the unusual things, the things that they may not go into a whole bunch. So like the YouTube features, doing annotations, and talking about a little bit about pivot tables and exploring spreadsheets. And what we also did this last round is, in order to help people schedule their time, we was like, I will be here, and if you want to do your level 1 exam, I will be around in the room to give you that security blanket. If that helps out, because sometimes people just need to schedule their time so that they commit to it.
So in the theme of what you guys are talking about right now, do you find a common area or service where teachers have problems learning?
You mean throughout the level 1 and 2? Is there one of the areas that tends to be the sticky wicket?
Yeah, probably that's the question that's coming in. Yeah.
Well, let me think. I would say, there are some things that people have more experience with than others. I'd say that in the past, Google Sites would have been one of the more challenging areas because of the depth that you needed to go in with it, and because it wasn't as user-friendly. I mean, I loved Sites, don't get me wrong. So I'm looking forward to teaching it again this summer, but having the new Sites in there. And so when I would schedule out the 4 days, I had to kind of think, okay, where do I put some of these brain burners? Where do I put these in there so that I don't put back-to-back 2 things that people are going to come out, going, oh my gosh, I cannot think. So spreadsheets and Sites, we always kept them separate because, spreadsheets, not a lot of people end up, I love spreadsheets. It should be used in every subject area for so many things. And I try to really push that on my blog, how to use spreadsheets for language arts and for social studies and science and all these different things. But honestly, many times people have never touched. We'll get a couple. There'll be 2 people in the room like, I can do a pivot table. I'm like, that's fantastic. Everybody else, they don't. What? Nothing. No formulas, rows, cells, nothing. They've never touched it. So I would say spreadsheets are an area that you definitely have to be very focused as to how you're going to present that to them with some really good activities that cover all the check marks you need, but also makes sense. I don't want to just string together a bunch of things for them to learn. It's like, here's a fun learning activity that will check off 12 of these things, and it's something you can use with your kids, as well. So I'd say spreadsheets and sites, definitely. I would say some of the stuff when you get into YouTube, not using YouTube, but creating your channel and uploading things. Playlists. That's something that they're not as used to. Not a lot of people use Google Maps beyond just, I need to find directions to get somewhere. We get into Tour Builder and we get into all of the, Google Earth and all of those things. Probably never touched those. So, I think those would be some things that real quick probably come to mind as areas. So yeah, sheets, sites, YouTube, maps would certainly be some. Nick, why don't you take a look, and I'll see if there's anything else I haven't thought of.
I would also touch on Google Groups, because unless you're the admin, usually you're not going to create a Google group per se. And that's just to explore it a little bit, how to create a group, how to add people, because that is definitely something that you cover in level 1.
Yep.
And probably level 2. And just a general tip to remind all your people is, cut and paste is your friend when you are taking the test. Pass it on to them, because it's an automated grading program, so it's is everything in the right place. So make sure that you are highlighting just that. Don't throw extra spaces in there, so it doesn't throw your things off. Yeah, and touching a little bit on add-ons, I don't think they really had much on Google Play for Education, since it's being phased out.
Yeah, Play for Education, there's no reason to even touch that, because it's gone. Now, who knows, we may replace it, once we have Android apps on Chromebooks running properly and all that. But Play for Education, it's not even available anymore unless you were grandfathered in before. So. And
Blogger, and this.
Thankfully, you don't have much you have to know with Blogger. No. You're right. They probably have never touched it, but that's one that, as sophisticated as it could be, what you have to do with it is so minimal, so introductory. So, you can give them 1 hour on Blogger and they will be fine. They'll have everything they need for that. But you're right. Yeah.
And just touching on your calendar and change of names from tasks to reminders, or reminders to task, I think, and just little working with tasks, because maybe I'm type A, but I'm not super duper type A, and so adding extra things to your task list is something that's required. But I would say those are the ones that you just don't use on an everyday basis, where the docs and the other ones, and multimedia text sets are hyperdocs.
Yes, hyperdocs are MMTSs.
That was my name for it, and I remember taking the test. I'm going, what is this? And I'm like, oh, hyperdocs.
Multimedia hyperdoc. That's right. Now, Nick, you said a really good point there about copying and pasting. When it comes to, they can go through 4 days of training and they can have all this stuff. There's still something to be said for having some really good test taking tips. And you're right on the money there. You only have so much time. It's not terrible. You probably won't run out of time, but number one, copying pasting is faster, but number two, it's accurate. You're right. They're going to be, this is computer graded. There's not somebody on the other end checking this. It's being computer graded. And so if they say name something, or you have named it exactly that thing. So I usually have three, you got to take away test taking tips, and you hit one of them right there, and that is copy paste. My second one that I always mention is, if there's any way you can, have a second monitor connected to the device you are taking this on. Now, I don't understand how anybody could live without a second monitor just daily. I've got 3 up right now. So if you've got a laptop, it's got a VGA or HDMI out port. borrow an LCD monitor for the day and just plug it into the VGA out, switch from cloning your screen to extending your desktop, and there you go. Now you've got 2 monitors attached to your laptop, because you can bring up on one screen, the instructions of what the test is telling you to do, while on the other screen you can be doing the work. And oh my gosh, the time that saves to not be maximizing and minimizing and maximizing and minimizing, to just see, copy, paste, read, and do. That's wonderful. And then the third tech tip is, well, I mean, it sounds bad, but don't forget, it is open book, open note, open whatever. This is not something where, I mean, you're allowed to look things up if you get stuck. And that's the thing, Google's not expecting that you know everything perfect. You don't go into this thinking you can just look things up. You will not have time. You will not get through it. Okay. But if you are solid, but a little weak on a few things, that's okay, because Google is more interested, can you find the information, than do you have everything memorized to a T. So it's okay to have that 36-page document where I had all of my help resources. It's okay to have the training center open. It's okay. I usually tell people you should have the training center, have the help doc I shared, and maybe have the program, open in another window where, I know you're using, the program inside of the test as well, but maybe have, your other account open in it where you can, test something out and try something. The only thing it's not is it's open book, it's open note, it's not phone a friend. Okay, so you can't get help from somebody else. You have to affirm to that as you are taking the test that you are doing this on your own. You can't have somebody helping you with it, but you can have all the resources that you need when you take it.
But I think a good point that Eric's made is that, I mean, everyone knows the stuff, whether you know it cold or not. At least you know where to go looking for it. But there is the hands-on and the practical thing where it says you must build this folder, you must add a file in here with this file sharing settings and stuff like that. And if you've read it, it's not the same as actually doing it. And so, as you're going through those scenarios, make sure you actually take the time before you write your test to actually practice doing all that. Because like Nick said, you don't have enough time just to look everything up, because you got stuff to actually create and do.
Yeah, I mean, you have time to look up the random, I will tell you, like, multimedia text that blew my, I'm like, what is this? I didn't know what it was, but I did. I just didn't know it under that name, and I'm like, I have to create this. What am I supposed to do? And I figured it out.
Well, now, unfortunately, you've given out too much information about the test, and we are going to have to revoke your trainer certification. I'm sorry, Nick, but you signed the NDA.
Got a question here from, I can't pronounce that, so I won't. Once the workshop boot camp ends, do you have any post-help after with that you, that's for the attendees?
I mean, I do, in the sense that they can always contact me. I mean, a lot of the people who attend our boot camps are relatively in this area, so a lot of them I run into anyway. But honestly, we get people that come from all over. This is going to sound kind of crazy, but I mean, we're in Ohio. I've had somebody fly in from Oklahoma to attend the boot camp. I mean, we've had people come from other states, to take it. I'm like, okay, they somehow connected with me and thought that was a good thing for them, and that's fantastic. So maybe I can't help that person quite as much face to face, but yeah, it's always, I get questions, I get emails from people they know. I'm always available, since they've gone through the boot camp, that if they have a question, I'm happy to, help them afterwards. But as far as like a follow-up thing, or, we're going to have a 6-month or 1 year, boot camp reboot, type of thing. We've never done anything like that.
Okay. One other question. What is the cost for the attendees?
Well, it depends. If it's one that is being run through my job here, if I'm doing it here at where I'm employed as a 9-to-5 employee kind of guy, we charge $400 for the 4 days. So $100 a day. We try to keep it, reasonably priced. But at the same time, we want it to be something, because these fill up crazy fast. And and I don't want people, canceling, and then we have empty seats, I mean, they fill up really, really quick, and we have to turn people away because there's only so many weeks that we can, set aside for these. And so we want to have something that it's a bit of a commitment, but not something that's going to be a problem. So it's typically $100 a day, so 400. On the other hand, when schools hire me to come in and do the training, then that's up to them. I mean, whatever they want to charge, obviously they work out a price with me to come in and do the training for them. But sometimes I've had schools that they don't charge their attendees anything. They just pay to bring me in, and then, they open it up to surrounding schools or whatever, and it's free. But for us, we do here 400 for the 4 days.
Yeah, and I would suggest, if Eric's booked that weekend or he has a vacation sometime in there, that to check out the other partners that are out there. And lots of them offer various different preparations for that, and that's I've seen pretty much, I would say 200 up higher from that, depending on the camp and the day and all those type of things. But 200 is not going to be 4 days, I will tell you that much. That's probably a 1 to 2 day boot camp. But check out the other partners out there, and there's a whole lot of them, and reach out, and I'm sure there's plenty of people that would be excited to have you come and learn.
And I was going to say, if you hire a Canadian, your money goes even farther.
There you go. Mic drop.
So anyways, we got about 10 minutes left. There's one or two other things I want to cover that we talked about. Is there anything else that you'd like to mention about these trainer camps, guys?
I don't know. If there's any other questions anybody had, because I mean, yeah, that's the gist of it. I mean, I've been really, really pleased with them. I'm hoping maybe to get a little creative with the scheduling and move away from just doing summers. It's always a matter of, if you're doing, a 2-day boot camp, that's something, but if you're doing a 4-day, it's tough to ask people to, step out of their school for a full week. So I might try to, investigate some weekend things in a row, hey, 4 weekends in a row, or, 2 days here and 2 days there. So, we might try some other things, but for now, if you're in Northeast Ohio and you're looking for some training this summer, we should be running them again. And if you're anywhere else and you don't mind coming, that's fine too. Love to have you here for them.
And we had a couple other questions just to touch upon those to help those people out. They had a question, do you limit the number? That depends on how many people you have going. I would say 30 to 40 is about what I can handle alone. And then you get beyond that, it really depends on skill level. I've also served for a couple of different places when they had like 60. Then I like to pull someone else in, because it's just hard to keep the train going, because you have to feel out your group and say, okay, I got 60% who really understand this concept, but if I have my assistant who can go over and help that person individually catch up, it's always that much easier.
Nick, you're absolutely correct. I mean, you're right around 30, and it's like, okay, that's reasonable. Once you get above that, I'll even tell, like, if schools have me come in and say, well, we've got X number of people, and I'll say, as long as you can give me one of your tech people who can be in the room with me to just do what you're saying, to help those special cases where somebody fell behind a little bit or whatever, or else the whole train's just gonna come to a halt. And so somebody who can just run around and help, and they don't have to be an expert. A lot of times, as long as they're just tech savvy and they're comfortable, they're going to be fine. And oh my gosh, that has helped a lot. So I've had trainings where, I don't know, you're right, it's like 100 and some people in the room or something, but they had 2 tech people, and they kept moving around.
If you can do that, then it helps keep the train running.
Yeah, but when we do them here, the limit is actually just the room size. We can only fit so many people in the room, so we max out at about 35, or else you got to sit on somebody's lap if you want. I mean, we don't have, the rooms aren't big enough for more than that.
That also depends on space. And someone else also had a question: what do districts do as incentive for their teachers? I can at least speak from experience from some neighboring districts. Hancock Place has a wonderful badge program, and so they can earn incentives if they get their Google certification. That could be Chromebook for their classroom. It can be a cash payout or a voucher. It's where they can earn like a stipend for reaching those things, and they have to, of course, give their evidence. And another school, Orchard Farm, which is much smaller than my school district. I think they have maybe 120 teachers, K-12. They are having them all get ready and take the test. So there's a lot of prep and training. Also, they're also fully one-to-one, so it's just helps them all the way around. And doing it for that many is not as close to doing it for my size of a district. You know, when you're talking $70,000 if we all got level 1 and level 2 certification, because it's 35 per for the two tests, or you know, it's 10 and 25 for each of the tests.
If you guys have any other questions in the YouTube channel, or sorry, in the YouTube video down below there in the comments, please throw in your comments and questions there. And you know, once we're offline, or for those of you that are joining us after the live presentation, we'll be able to reply back to some of your questions in there. Eric, got a lot of comments in our chat. Everyone's saying they love your resources, thanking you very much. You know, great info and all that. And I'll share that link with you a little later once we go off air. So just a couple of things just to wrap things up. One of the things we like to do here is kind of take a look at the resources database that the trainers have access to. Now, as part of being a trainer, you have to submit a resource to share among everyone else at least once a year. And it has to be original content. You can't copy and paste someone else's stuff and claim it as your own. So anything that's original, throw it up in there and to share. It's great for a lot of us because when we're trying to think, you know, what's a better way of addressing, you know, or presenting this information, great for some ideas driven, or sometimes I'm in a, you know, we're in a hurry. I have to do a presentation on ABC. I just haven't had time to do it. I'll just borrow Johnny's. And I'll, you know, as I'm doing a presentation, I'll be sure that, you know, if I use those slides, give a credit to the person individually, or, you know, keep their name attached to the presentation if you're using someone else's presentation. What I want to do today, though, is we're going to highlight, let me just pull my screen up. Yeah, that's the one. So the resource we're highlighting today is from Jane Hoover, and she has 50+ ways to use Google Drawings in your classroom. So there's a whole collection there of all different ways of making use of Google Drawings. I think it's probably one of the most unsung heroes of the Google Apps suite. There's lots of cool things you can do with it, you know, whether it's by itself or within Google Docs. But by all means, take a look at the presentation that she's got there, and I guarantee you'll get some good ideas over that. The last thing that I want to tell you guys about is something that Google came out with just earlier this week called Google, what's it called? Transformation Gallery. And the Transformation Gallery is basically Google's listing of databases. It's a searchable database of all sorts of different scenarios, and they put these products together to do whatever it is you're looking for. So for example, I looked at one for doing vacation requests, and as part of this, it's going to give me a Google form, a Google Sheet, and there's a little script in there that goes as well. And it goes through and it shows you how you can take this, adapt it for your own use. It's actually very slick because as you fill out this piece of information, an email goes to the manager, and from the email, the manager clicks on a link to approve or not approve, and then emails get sent out, stuff gets added to calendars. It's a very sweet little piece of a handy tool. And the gallery has all sorts of exciting things in there that you can make use of it. A lot of it's work-based, but you'll be able to find stuff that you can use in the classroom, not a problem. That's pretty much it. Any last words from you guys?
No, just thanks so much for having me on. Really appreciate that. And definitely connect if people looking for me online, controlaltachieve.com. That's the blog, and put loads of stuff there. I'm at Eric Curts on Twitter, ERICCURTS. Happy to connect with folks. Thanks for letting me be here today. It's great stuff.
Wonderful to have you. Nick, anything you'd like to say?
as you join, if you're a new trainer, just connect, share, and as you're waiting for some of the like getting in the training directory and getting your training domain, those have to be done by hand. So give it a little bit of time because it just takes a little bit of time for Google to get that process. So don't expect it to happen the next day. Give it a little bit of time and just check in on it every now and then.
Excellent. Thank you. Guys, as you're going through into the Google group for the trainer stuff, please feel free to make some comments in the stream there to let other people know that, you know, about this episode so they can come and check it out. If you have any other questions, again, you can post it within the Google group. And other than that, we hope to connect to you again in a month's time. There is a document in the Google group if you want to put in some suggestions of what you'd like to see on our Get Help Hangouts. You can put your suggestions in there. We have people voting that up and down. That's how we ended up with this boot camp as our topic for this week. So check that out as well. And that's pretty much it. And we are at 2 o'clock local time. So thanks very much for joining us, guys. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.